Hello, America, and welcome to America, the podcast with me, Theb A Stard, the embodiment of and only hope for America, and my apologies for the lateness of this episode.
Do you want to talk about why the episode is late?
Oh, let's see. First, we were going to do an episode on Project 2025 because the Democrats won't shut up about it, and nor should they because it's terrifying. And then we were going to do an episode on the fact that presidents are kings now, a thing I fought against during a revolution, but I guess now we're here recording a new episode because former President Trump almost got shot. So that's where we are, America. We are here talking about a presidential candidate in 2024 getting almost shot by a person we are now finding out was planning on potentially shooting both Biden and Trump. At least that is what is being suggested by the fact that he was seeking location information on both candidates.
Right, yeah, we had to re-record some stuff, but I was kind of talking about the fact that the show's coming out on Fridays now.
Yes, that's right, America. My very important show, America, the podcast, is now coming out on Fridays, so just deal with it. Just like we are all going to have to deal with at least 12 years of Republican rule.
You're a fiscal conservative. I figured you'd be happy with Republican rule.
Only in the sense that I want all the money to stay with me.
You know that's not realistic.
And that shows how little you know about the world financial system.
Yeah, well, you're right, America. The show is out on Fridays now, and as for Trump, you really think he's gonna get elected?
Well, there is quite literally no way to know, but much like all of the Democrats apparently, I am settling in for this potentially decades-long right-wing ride.
Well, that's not giving me any hope.
I never said I was here to give you hope, my friend.
So you have no hope in this?
I never said that either.
Well, then can you explain what you mean, man?
Well, how about this? I give you the doom and gloom first, and then I give you what hope I do have.
All right, you have the mic.
Thank you. All right, America, it's time for my brand new segment, America the Podcast Politically Scares the Absolute Crap Out of You. So, what will a Republican presidency look like? Well, I can tell you, it's not going to be that of Reagan or Bush or even Nixon. It will be much more on the right-wing side of things, and it will be much, much scarier. And let me tell you why. First, Trump shouts about wanting to dismantle the deep state. Now, as America the Podcast listeners know, I personally run the deep state, but it's not the kind of deep state that Trump is talking about. It's like Joe the Administrator for the Department of Defense, or Amanda in the Department of Records. Basically, any career bureaucrat that works in the government that's been there for a long time that could potentially get into Donald Trump's way when he, say, tries to shut down any case against him that maybe even involves, I don't know, documents of some sorts, nuclear secrets, in fact. Anyways, they want to replace John and Amanda with people they have found in what is being called a conservative right-wing LinkedIn-style website. Basically, an employment database full of conservatives ready to take control on day one. And I know that you were certainly shouting, but Theb A Stard, the embodiment of and only hope for America. They can't just fire people at will. Au contraire, mon frere. Apologies for my French. They can through what is called Schedule F. If Trump enacts it, he can basically at will fire anybody in the federal government he wants. Not to mention the Supreme Court just made him a king, and Biden as well, and any other president that will come after Donald Trump. And again, notice I keep saying that will come after Donald Trump. Well, that's because Donald, our dear, long-tide orange, not burrito-loving friend, I think it's mostly buckets of chicken and cheeseburgers, but our friend Donald has chosen his vice president, JD Vance, author of Hillbilly Elegy, a book about the struggles of white people, and a very charismatic man. Where have I heard that one before? During the war, the second one, the big one, the Great War, the second Great War, actually. They were all great, but some were greater than others. I preferred the quasi-war, but I digress. I'm comparing JD Vance to Mustache Man, as I have to call him, because, well, he has similar views to the man. Not racist ones, well, at least he says. He rides on the fact that he has an Indian wife quite hard, but... well, it's not surprising for a Republican to wear someone as a, badge of honor because they do like using people. Most politicians do.
You're getting lost in your thoughts.
Yes, my apologies, America. Where was I? Yes, JD Vance. Now, America, I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios. The first 2 are basically the same thing and have the same outcome. The second one is what is going to give you your little bit of hope at the end. But first, we talk about what happens if Trump wins. Let's start with the basics. So, Donald Trump wins the presidency. He makes all of his crimes, past and present and potentially future, go away and gets away with quite literally everything he's ever done in his entire life. Granted, I helped him commit a few of those crimes, but this isn't about me, this is about him. Next comes the 2028 election. We'll save what he did during his second term for a bit later. Is Donald Trump going to deny the election results? Of course he is. However, he is not going to be running again. It will be JD Vance. Why, you are certainly asking? Well, Donald Trump would like to retire, and his entire point of getting reelected, i.e. getting rid of all of his crimes, is now done, and now JD Vance can take over as the heir apparent, not certify his own election loss, and continue being president for the next 8 years. Unless he wants to stay, which I highly doubt because the Republicans will want to keep an air of democracy by churning people out and just saying that they win every single time because the vice president will never certify an election and say that it's always stolen, even though they will be the ones in charge of the elections, mind you. Now, scenario number 2, I will say is a little bit wild, but still within the realm of possibility. So, Trump gets reelected, and then pardons himself, and then his first 100 days comes around and he announces that, I know that I am old. Unlike my opponent Joe Biden, I will do the right thing like our founder George Washington and step down when I know my time has come, which is now, and I will be passing the torch along to the younger generation, the millennial generation, with JD Vance. Then Trump leaves, goes and plays golf the rest of his miserable life, and JD Vance is now the president, with a new Republican vice president installed. And that Republican vice president would likely not certify any election that JD loses, thereby perpetually keeping the Republican Party in power for decades to come. Now, what do those presidencies look like? Well, first, Project 2025, which was created by the Heritage Foundation, as well as many other conservative think tanks, have stated they want to get rid of pornography, which itself has already been banned in multiple states. But the thing is, pornography for the very, very conservative, and that's coming from someone who was deeply conservative, is code for queer artists. That's right, they believe the gayses and the transes are trying to turn your children into a gay or a trans or whatever the language they try to use in their little backwards brains. And thereby anything created by a member of the LGBTQ+ community is instantly pornography. And they don't just want to ban this quote-unquote pornography, they want to put the pornographers in jail, i.e. the LGBTQ+ community. And this right-wing agenda goes far beyond that. It wants to get rid of the Department of Education, as well as criminalizing abortion at all levels. And if you think that's the worst of it, think again. Imagine now they have the ability to collect any records they want because all of these quote-unquote baby murderers are out there and they are being protected by HIPAA. HIPAA, for those of you who don't know, is a law that provides privacy for medical records. Well, now imagine a president can go beyond that and find out anybody's name who had an abortion. And what do you think they would do if they had all of those names? And if you're thinking it's a water balloon fight, you're dead wrong. They would be putting people in jail. So that covers reproductive rights as well as the rights of the LGBTQ+ community. Now, what about the rights of, say, everyday Americans who simply don't have a child? Well, it was recently reported that JD Vance said that people without children should not have the same voting power as parents because they have no physical commitment to the future of this country. That's right, if you choose not to have children, you do not get to vote. At least in the eyes of the future vice president who will hold all future elections in his hands. And let's not forget the 15 to 20 million immigrants that Donald Trump and his cronies are going to try and deport. Which I'm sure will go just fine because he's going to use the United States military to do it, a well-known oiled machine. And let's not forget all of the diversity and climate initiatives that the Democrats put forth these past 4 years. Those are absolutely going away. And again, this is not just me fear-mongering, this is literally the plan in Project 2025. And some people will say, well, Trump has distanced himself from that. Well, literally almost every person involved has worked for him or supported him in some fashion. We are still in a world where David Duke, the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan, endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and he still won. And here we are again, with Republicans spouting off racist talking points and even Russian propaganda points like it's easier than breathing. And every single thing I just said is a real threat to this country, and it was easily avoidable, and it still could be avoided now. Will it be avoided? Well, I don't know, and I could not say, because as of this moment, Joe Biden is still the assumed nominee. However, there is word through the grapevine that he will be dropping out by this weekend. And if he does, great. And if he doesn't, well, if he loses, he will be held responsible personally for absolutely everything that happens from here on out. Because we know that Donald Trump is a monster. We know that he is going to dismantle democracy, and we know that he is going to try and stay in power, or at the very least pass it off to every Republican from here on after. It's like allowing a hyena to babysit your child and then being shocked when the hyena eats your child.
Are you gonna provide hope at any point in this, man?
Yes, indeed. Your hope is this, America. You have to vote for whoever the Democratic nominee is, whether it's Joe Biden or whether it's Kamala Harris by this weekend. And to the Robert F. Kennedy supporters out there, I know that you are also disillusioned and that you do want change. I completely get it. I do not agree with your anti-vaxxer bullshit, but to each their own. But you have to know that that man will not win and that Donald Trump wants you to vote for him to pull votes away from the Democrats. Robert F. Kennedy's own representatives are on video saying this exact thing. So if you truly are just disillusioned and just want to vote for somebody else, I get it. But if you're an actual Democrat who does not want Trump to win, then do not vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Voting for the Democrats, which is something I do not like telling you to do because I don't believe that you should have to vote one way or the other, but we are unfortunately at a point where voting for the Democrats is a vote for harm reduction. Actual harm will come to this country if Donald Trump is elected. It is not hyperbole. It is not the left being facetious and the left blowing things out of proportion. He has literally stated these things. These things that he wants to do are not ideals of our American democracy, and they will not be good for the majority of Americans. Your hope is in your hands, America. You must vote. You must vote for the Democrats. It is unfortunately true, and hopefully one day we'll get to a multi-party system. But for now, you must vote for the Democrats. And if you don't, well, buckle up, buckaroo, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. At least for half the country.
I'd venture to say a lot of right-wing folks don't want any of these hyper-bad policies either, right?
Oh, of course. They're actually on record saying they don't want Trump to have these extra powers as a king, and they don't feel that he or anybody should be attacking their political opponents. Yet Donald Trump has promised retribution and a bloodbath many times.
Yeah, so wait, that was your hope? Like we are our own hope? That was it?
Well, yes, if you want hope and you want hope to survive, then you need to vote for the harm reduction candidate, basically, and in 2028 you will have a new chance to vote against JD Vance, Nikki Haley, or any other fashy-fash that comes your way. Simply put, America, it is time to rally. Otherwise, we are in this for the long haul of a lot of right-wing policies that will slowly eat away at the fabric of these United States and her very fragile democracy. Because now Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or any other imbecile can be given the powers of a king and a nuclear arsenal that they can use without limit as long as they whip up an angry mob to be scared of someone for being different or being from somewhere else.
Dude, you're supposed to be leaving this on a hopeful note.
Well, I can't, Timothy, because there is not a lot of hope left. The Democrats have basically given up, and Donald Trump is now stronger than ever. America, it is time to get with it. It is time to stop playing games and to stop bitching and moaning about, oh, I want a third-party candidate with Robert Kennedy, or I don't like Joe Biden, or I don't think I'm gonna like Kamala Harris because she's a cop. It is time for you, the American people, to stand up, collect yourselves, vote for the Democratic candidate in November, and make Donald Trump go away for good. And it will not make MAGAism go away, but it will weaken it, because without their king of Riz, they are nothing more than a backwards right-wing cult that will fizzle out into nothing over the next 2 decades. Thank you for listening. We will be back again in 2 weeks. For now, and as always, good night and good fight.
It's America, the podcast.
You've been listening to America, the podcast, the original series. The show stars Tim Phillippe and Theb A Stard, the embodiment of and only hope for America, as themselves. Any additional voices heard in this episode were portrayed by the fabulous cast of voice actors listed in the show notes. The amazing America, the podcast theme song you are listening to is by Timmy Two-Step, and all other music and sounds heard in this show were procured through Storyblocks, Pixabay, freesound.org, and Sonus. America, the podcast is recorded at Shui Media Studios in Austin, Texas, and is mixed and edited by Tim Philippi. Executive producers for this show are Alana Matos, Tim Philippi, and Theb A Stard. For more information, please visit shuimedia.com and americathepodcast.com. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.
This has been a production of Shui Media, all rights reserved. For more information, please visit shuimedia.com.